the talk shows Find Your Own Voice, Lead from Within. With me today, Carol Ann Cooper and Robin Snow. Carol Ann, please introduce yourself to our audience.
Lovely, thank you, Namsa. And as the writing facilitator, what I do is I support women becoming more productive with their writing by connecting them with their deeper innate ability to write. But more importantly, they experience free-flowing writing. They experience an unlocking of the writer within and getting their story written, because you cannot publish what isn't written. And all of this has come about through my own journey of unlocking the writer within. So Robin, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. So my name's Robin Snow. I'm the owner, director, and author at Glow Yoga Kids here in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. I run a kids yoga business. So we are mobile. We go around to schools, daycares, we do events, birthday parties, private classes, and all that super fun stuff. And I have a cat, and she's already been on my keyboard this morning, so I know that she will come and visit once again. So keep an eye out for her tail somewhere.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Robin. So our topic today is nutrition and how it plays a role in a woman's health. So I'm going to let Robin explain this topic because she chose this topic, and basically she can explain how to leverage nutrition to stay healthy and achieve our goals, and the importance basically for women to actually look after their in nutrition and make sure that we are in a healthy state. So over to you, Robin.
Yeah, so this is something that I've come across within the last year, more so like beyond what is kind of normal, what we kind of learn in school about nutrition. I'm not sure where it is where you guys are, but it wasn't a lot. There wasn't too much about nutrition. I feel like a big thing that is common is just kind of like, oh, like kind of just avoid, certain foods and have a lot of other foods was kind of the majority of what I received as far as my food education. And it wasn't until the last year that I realized and found out that there's so much more to it, and specifically in regards to women's health and certain foods and that sort of thing that we need to nourish our bodies with during our menstruation cycle as well. That doesn't just include, the week of the bleed, but the entire month, and what kind of nutrition is important for the entire month. And so I thought this would just be a really interesting topic to talk about. I feel like when I found out about it, I was really kind of angry actually, because I was like, why didn't anyone share this information with me? And, it solved a lot of health issues for me as well. So I feel like, even if just one person hears it and realizes, oh my gosh, is that what we're supposed to be doing? That maybe it might help them as well. That's why I brought the topic to us today.
I love that, yes. Would have helped health issues, as I heard you say, if you'd known sooner. And I can so relate with that because, yes, we're told the basics. You need to eat a healthy diet. You need vitamins, minerals, and protein and carbohydrates, and just a basic information really is what we were given. And it wasn't till I think I was in my 30s that I was starting to things were happening that I didn't understand. I was getting very depressed. I was getting very moody, and the swings in my monthly cycle with my emotions just became even more sort of roller coasterish. And that premenstrual tension. And then afterwards, and so I then started hearing about it was evening primrose oil. So I started taking that, and the difference that it made was incredible. And then I found I was getting more migraines. They seemed to progress even more as I was getting older. Each month I got more and more so. And it wasn't until I started my training in educational kinesiology and other complementary fields, did things like that start to shift. But it was looking more at my health and the nutrition side of things. And I started looking at aloe vera drinking gel and other things like vitamin C, and it seemed to open up that whole field of there is more to this. And I found somebody who actually did some allergy testing on me and realized that there was something else going on, which, oh gosh, what was it? I can't remember the name of it now, but there was an A4 page of symptoms. And it was like, and all the doctor had done was just dismiss it. It was like, and yet when she said that, and we started looking and testing for different foods, and so I started avoiding certain foods, just some foods were okay, and then there were other foods, it was like every 3 days, because it takes 3 days for foods to go completely through your system. Whereas if you keep eating them, your body gets an overload because it hasn't been able to clear it. And it was things like this that I started learning about. And my whole emotional up and down just changed. And so that was going into my 40s. So certainly it would have been so much, say better, it would have been nicer to have learned beforehand. I'm interested that you say you got angry because why haven't I been told this before? I don't think I ever got angry. I was just like, wow. But yeah, there certainly needs to be education, a wider education about this. And interesting that you say, Robin, that it's the last year that you started to pick up on this. And I think it was about a year ago that I realized there was an element missing from my my program. I had 7 modules to it, my writing program, and I realized there was one missing, which was nutrition. And so I think I need to explore that, but I've not done anything about it. So I welcome this because I started looking into it, into this topic, and realizing, oh, there's a lot of research for me to do here, because there is, women do have the different periods that they go through in their lives, and you need to know what nutrition is suitable for each, or supportive for each stage you're in. And now I'm in the post-menopause state. I've now sort of started realizing that there's something else for me to look at here as well, because I think there's still a cycle that goes on that I don't know about. But also nutrition, I need to look at it in a different way, and how can it support me? So great topic, and realizing that I don't know a lot about it, and I'm going, oh gosh, what are we going to talk about, Robbie? So thank you.
Yes, of course. I don't know if you want to add anything, Nomsa, before we get into it.
Yeah, I think nutrition is very important to maintain our energy as women. Like Robin, you say you got really angry. Sometimes you get really upset because if you don't have knowledge about it, and you go to the doctors and you have all these healthy people around you that they don't give you enough information. So it is important. Even Carol Ann, when you say is very important as well for us to know what we are eating. And I hope you're not skipping meals, Carol Ann. Have you started eating your breakfast early?
No,
Not yet.
that's a good point. No.
No, you've got to eat your breakfast, Carol Ann. Robin, Carol Ann does not eat breakfast early. It's very, very important to eat your
Yeah.
breakfast. It's like when you get up in the morning, drink loads of water and do what your thing about. Make sure you look after yourself and eat breakfast, because you do need proteins. You do need different vitamins in your body, and I think you need basically protein. If I'm not wrong, you need 1.2 grams protein daily for every kilo that you weigh. I think so, if I'm not mistaken. So you need to make sure that basically you eat the right food. You eat enough food just to maintain your daily nutrition, because you need it. I eat loads of spinach. The greens are good for you. If you get the greens and mash them, blend them, and drink them juicy green juice. It's not very nice. It doesn't taste nice, but it's all good. But if you put spinach in it, it's nice. I love it with spinach. It's lovely. Spinach is good for iron. It is nice to look after yourself as a woman, because women and men, our bodies are designed different. So we need to be aware of the needs, what our bodies needs, and we need to listen to our bodies as well at the same time. There are some people who skip meals. There's so many different diets out there. People will tell you this, but I think you need to focus on as your body, just do what your body accepts, because sometimes there are some people that, in order for you to lose weight, you've got to do this, you've got to do this, you've got to skip meals. But I don't think you have to skip meals. For me, I think you have to eat normal and go to the gym, or just find some physical exercises, or just maybe juice, because in there are some juice that you can take that can help you to drink, and then you don't feel hungry. But I'm sure those juices have different nutritions in them. I don't use all those things. For me, basically my diet is straightforward. Physical, I like physical exercises, and I like to eat my food properly. When I'm getting up in the morning, Carol Ann, I love my breakfast. I like to eat my breakfast. And when I'm eating my breakfast, I like one slice of my bread in every day. One slice is enough for me to go on. And then in the afternoon, small lunch. I never skip food. The small lunch, evening, I have meals properly. So I think it is good. Robin, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, so one of the biggest things I learned was the process of cycle syncing, which is matching up your nutrition and really your life to your menstrual phases. And so one of the things that doctors often don't mention and is not really widely known or accepted is that menstruating women actually get left out of studies. So when they're doing medical studies on, you name it, for disease or, whether, whatever kind of thing that they're studying, they actually leave out menstruating women. And the reason for that is because our hormones and our system is so complex that it essentially throws in a wrench into their study, because our systems, it just, there's so many things that are different. So we throw a wrench into their study. So they just leave us out completely, which is really frustrating, because no one really understands the female system that well. There's a rare amount of people that actually specialize in it. And it's very challenging to get in touch with those people as well. They're not going to be your regular GP. Sadly, most of our GPs actually don't get enough nutrition training, at least here in Canada. And most of the time they're very highly specialized, and that information just isn't being shared. So we get left out of studies because we're so complex. And so cycle syncing is a way to essentially match up your food, match up your exercise, match up your everyday life stuff to your menstrual phases. So the way that I was explained it was each phase represents a different season. So if you think about our phases as far as the season goes, menstrual is winter, right? Follicular, which comes after your menstruation phase, is fall. Then we have our ovulatory phase, which is summer, and the luteal phase, which is spring. Okay, and basically how this works is you think about what you do during those times, right? In the winter time, most of the time, at least here in Canada, especially because it's cold, we're hibernating a little bit. We withdraw, we spend more time at home, we do some more reflection, that sort of thing. So you're kind of matching up the way that you're acting. You maybe take a little bit more time to yourself during your menstrual phase. You do more journaling, do some more reflection, that sort of thing. And your food has to match up with that as well. I'm not going to get into hormones just yet because it gets a little bit complicated, but specifically, matching up your nutrition, you want to, during the wintertime, you want to eat more warming foods. You want to have more soups, more stews, slow cooked meals, that sort of thing. During your menstruation phase, whereas to the opposite, to the flip, the ovulatory phase is considered summer. In the summertime, we're not going to want to have hot soup. So why are we as well? So during our ovulatory phase, again, you want to be having, more of those foods that you might eat in the summertime, things that are going to start boosting your fertility. And typically we talk about like water and fiber being common to reduce fluid retention, which is something that's very common during your ovulatory phase. So having food that is going to be nice and fresh, and lots of veggies and lots of salads and that sort of thing. And each other phase also has, its nuances, the differences in what you need to add. And you just kind of look at it as like, okay, what would I do during this season, right? I'm not going to show up in the summer in a parka. So why am I eating warm, hot foods during summertime? Why am I doing that during my ovulatory phase? And why am I trying to have all of my energy during my winter phase? Because that's a time of reflection. It even baffles me. Is kind of a funny side note. We all, have New Year's at the same time, right? The end of the year, December 31st, moving on to the 1st. Everyone makes these New Year's resolutions. It's a terrible time to make New Year's resolutions because it's winter time. We still have a few more months of rest, but everyone's like, no, it's the beginning of the year. You need to go, go, go. But nature knows that winter time is a time of rest and reflection, and it's not time to get up and move yet. We should be making our New Year's resolutions in the spring when things start to come a buzz and things are, life is getting busy again, right? And it's the same with our menstruation. We should be matching up our food, matching up our nutrition, matching up our lifestyle with those different phases. And I think that's a huge part that is missed. It's a huge part that is missed for women, that because again, we're just left out and nobody understands this, and nobody understands that this is what we need to do in order to like feel good in our bodies, to tune in, to be empowered, right? It also makes you feel 1000% more connected to the earth and the phases of the earth, because we follow the seasons, we follow the life and death cycle every single month. Our bodies are going through the life and death cycle because we're growing an egg and then we're releasing that egg, right? If we're pregnant, obviously it becomes a baby. If we're not, it releases and it dies. And that's it's really interesting. It's really interesting. There's so much more I could talk about. I feel like I want to get into hormones as well, but it's kind of my mini overview about the topic. I don't know if you want to add anything, Caroline.
Well, I'm just going, that makes sense. I'm hearing what you're saying and I'm going, Okay, so it's like you've got seasons within seasons, so to speak. You know, we're doing our own monthly seasonal change within that bigger global season changes. And then you're saying, you know, when you're saying about eating more sort of summery foods, I'm thinking, you know, during the sort of ovulatory time, I'm thinking, that's something to think about in winter, because we never eat salads, we don't eat anything like that. You know, it's like in winter, we're just sort of focusing on the hot foods. And so maybe it's something to consider and to get maybe a bit more in tune with our body and our cycle and what we're eating within, you know, even though we're saying we're in winter and usually you like your warmer foods, but if there is, you're in a period of a few days where you're ovulating, maybe try or have a go at eating some more summery foods and see what happens. That sounds like a really great exploration to do. And I'm really keen to sort of follow through now in terms of what happens through going through like the pre-menopause, the menopause, and then afterwards, because things have changed. And like you're saying, this is where hormones come in. But also, is there still a cycle going on in your body of some sort? And do we need to sort of be aware of that? And are there different nutrients that maybe you need? Because I know that during when you're younger, sort of like in your teen years, they say you need more vitamin D, more calcium. And then sort of young adults need more quiz. And again, it depends where you're at as you're growing up. There's different requirements to support you as you're growing and changing. So there's certainly, I do know, I'm getting to know and hear a lot more women who are actually focusing on the menopause and talking about the menopause and what is important. Sort of, is it perimenopause, isn't it? Pre-bit, and then post-menopause.
One. Yeah.
And I certainly didn't know anything. I remember going to see my doctor, saying I was having all these sort of symptoms, and it was my late 30s I was in, around about age 38, and all these symptoms were happening. And I remember reading about menopause and what other women have been saying and thinking, well, that sounds like I might be going through. And of course, I hadn't had a period either that started stopping. But my doctor just dismissed it. He went, "Oh no, you're too young. Can't be going through," and didn't want to know. Just left me, you know, and literally said, "Oh, I'll put you back on the pill." He said, "Be about another 10 years." He said, "And I won't be around." So I'm thinking, thank you, not helpful. But again, that's when it was that period of my life where I started finding the other complementary fields, and I just never went back to my doctor. I stopped taking the pill because I resented it. I thought, I don't want to wait 10 years to find I've gone through the menopause. I want to know what's going on with my body, you know, and feel what's going on. So I never went back, and I've never been back to the doctor since. You know, and so yeah, there is a lot more to understand, and I think there's a lot more coming out. And as I said, there are a lot more people who are actually now focusing on, you know, sort of health and well-being coaches are focusing on being menopausal coaches, you know, coaching around the menopause and pre and post. So I love what you were saying there, Robin, and I will sort of think, oh, let's have a look, because it's maybe something even my grandchildren, you know, if they could start becoming aware of it. And my daughter, because I think she could be moving into, both my daughters could be moving into the sort of perimenopausal state, because my mum was very young when she went through. So you can't go by age. And just because you're a certain age, you know, it's like, okay, so a lot of women, it's around your 50s. It's not everybody. So you have to look at what is going on with the body and then know what foods can support and what nutrients are important there. So certainly it's an avenue to explore. And why, I wonder why somebody hasn't actually picked up and literally focused on maybe menopausal women. It's interesting that they've gone, don't want to know, too complex a study. Well, maybe it could be in its complexity, maybe there's something more simpler than they think. They could just focus on something there. But there is as I was looking at through this morning, the topic, and now as you're talking, there is a complexity to women's health that I don't think I fully realized or got, and I'm starting to get now. And certainly since we've been through COVID, and I think that's highlighted a lot of things in terms of brain function, because I think that's really created a lot of brain fog and really impacted on people's energy and brain cognition. Certainly has with mine. And so I think there's something else to look at there. Is there something around nutrition that we need to shift our thoughts about to help our brain function and our energy? Because we are changing because of the raising consciousness. It's happening. We are getting more light. Our light bodies are absorbing more light, but our physical bodies are not able to keep up with that change as quick, and it's being able to focus on with that as well. So is there a shift in nutrition that we need to have? I don't know. What do you think? Let's fling that out there.
Nomsa, do you want to add something, or do you want me to?
Oh yeah, I actually agree with you, Robin, when you say basically when you talk about the process of psycho thinking, and basically, and each phase that represent different seasons. During winter time, that we need to eat warm food, lots of warm food, different types and healthy ones. I agree with you. Basically, that's what we do in this house. I cook every day. And sometimes I'm like, I can't wait till when somebody will take over and cook. So it's nice to have warm food, to have soup, and like the food that you described that agrees with your body. And also, I think we spoke about this, Carol Ann, before, that you should always read what's on the label, what you're eating. Is very, very important to just to have a look at how many calories you are taking, and also what that food is providing, what kind of nutrition is providing for you. So it's very, very important. And Carol Anna, you mentioned that basically when people are young, it's like my children. I basically give them vitamin D and vitamin C, but I'm sure when they are older, they're just gonna stop taking that. But I think there are some food as well that it's just here in UK. You guys don't grow food. Everything, yeah, is basically you have to go and buy. Like in Africa, we grow everything. We eat everything. We bring it from the farm. It's fresh. Everyone has a farm. We grow things, so we can watch what we are eating, and we know that this food represent this. This food, this it gives me this. It will give me this. But not everyone has that opportunity to have their own farm. They have it, but they don't have facilities to actually grow their own food. But I think if we have that opportunity, it will be the same, that you basically know what, because vitamins D or vitamin C, they come from certain things. So you can have a look at what kind of food that is fresh that will give me that vitamin D, or doesn't have to be tablet. I don't like medication myself, so I like natural things. So it's important just to have a look at the food that you eat, and because sometimes if you don't eat properly, like Kero Annie, you were talking about how you used to develop headaches and things like that, so you can get into that. But once you actually monitor what you eat and doing exercises and having enough sleep as well, and avoiding what can you avoid avoiding basically, if you look at it now in this world, everyone has a different opinion of what people should eat, what we should that. Basically look at your body, and look at the things, maybe having you a special nutritionist that can help you with that, because I'm not sure if GP here in UK GP don't help with that, do they? Yeah, I have a special nutritionist that can help you. They do that in a hospital when you're sick. It happens when you're sick, and then they'll give you a special nutritionist to help you to make sure that, I don't know why they wait until people get sick. They should have those facilities to help people, but they do that. But I'm sure you can get a specialist that can help you. I know somebody who was really, really struggling with her health, but then she found this person that is helping her basically eat healthy. She has this food that she basically uh, will plan for her, that this is what you need to eat, but you need to look at your body whether it agrees with that. And if she is healthy, she feels better now. So you can do that, because as a woman, it is very, very important. Women, we go through a lot. Carrying somebody, like we give birth to children, we carry somebody for 9 months. That's another body life that you're carrying, and then you give birth to that life, and then you don't look after yourself, and then it's all about stress and stuff. We focus on the stress and things that are going wrong, instead of just focusing on looking after ourselves and making sure that we have enough nutrition and stuff. And also eating fruits as well, it does help, having enough fruits, and making sure that you look after yourselves and you meditate as well. It does help with all these things. I know there's so many products out there that is very confusing. I don't know whether it's just me. I'm getting confused when I add to someone on my social media. Everyone, hi Aislinn, how are you? Why do women nutritional needs differ from why do women nutritional needs differ from men? Do you want to answer this one, Robin, or do you want me to answer it?
Yeah, I'm happy
It's a
to
good
happy to
question.
talk about it. It's because of the hormones. Honestly, that's the biggest reason, because our hormones are constantly fluctuating. So there's two different um, rhythms that are followed. There's the circadian rhythm, which is the normal everyday, you go to sleep and you wake up, that type of rhythm. Men follow that rhythm for their hormonal cycle. So their hormones change throughout the day, just like the normal working day. Funny how the patriarchy set it up that way, so it would be super successful for men. Just random side note. Um, so basically, their hormones, they spike in the morning. They have a lot of energy. That's why usually men will kind of work out in the morning. They get really productive. They have this really amazing first part of the day where they're getting everything done and all that great stuff. And then as the day starts to go on, their hormones start to dip, which is why often when men come home, the last thing they want to do is something. They usually want to come home and sit and chill, because their hormones are starting to drop. Whereas and they end, and then they go to sleep and the cycle begins again. For women, we follow the circadian rhythm of the waking up and the going to bed, but our hormones actually follow an infradian rhythm, which is over the course of a month. So whereas men have their hormones that rise and fall in one day, ours rise and fall at different times throughout the month, literally all the time. throughout an entire month. And so when we have a lot of energy, it's not necessarily just that first part of the day. It can be at really random times, right? It can seem random. It's not, it follows the cycle of our phases, but it can feel really random. And which is why we need to make sure that our nutrition is matched up to those hormones. Because what works for men and their, regular nutrition is not going to be able to be effective for women's hormones. So I'll give you a good example. So if we talk about menstruation, our estrogen and progesterone are at its lowest. Okay, and that means our iron levels are also dropping. We've heard of this probably before when we're menstruating, that menstruating women often have lower iron because we're losing a lot of blood. And that's because our estrogen and progesterone is really, really low. So it's normal during those times to feel low energy as well, which is why during menstruation, a lot of women, and I see this all the time, people are like, oh, I need to keep up with my productivity because we live in a world where we need to be productive all the time, or I need to keep up with my exercise and I need to go every day. But like our bodies aren't really set up to do that. It's actually more effective for us to, during a menstruation, not to push our bodies, to actually just do things like yin yoga or Pilates or something more calming. We're not supposed to be doing crazy HIIT exercises during that time because our body needs that time to rest and rejuvenate. It's the same as like when men come home and just want to sit. It's like, why do they get to follow what their body needs and we're not following what our body needs? So during our menstruation phase, it's time for us to take that rest. You're actually going to see more of an effect with like your exercise, for example. If you're doing more relaxing exercises during your menstruation and more, high energy during your ovulation, than if you were to just, follow a circadian rhythm like the men do. I'm just going to see what she said. Maybe many days ago, I read somewhere, I remember Axia. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so definitely our hormones play a factor. Once you finish your menstruation, your hormones start to rise. So in your follicular phase, they start to rise. This is when your body's preparing for an egg to be released. Okay, so estrogen is on the rise during this phase. Your energy starts to slowly go back up again. Testosterone also starts to play a role. It starts to, in smaller amounts, start to come up as well. During this phase, you start to feel like more confident. You start to get a little bit more energy. You're more yourself. You can maybe start doing things like having a lot of protein, eating your cruciferous veggies, doing like weightlifting. Even some HIIT exercises are okay. And then, you hit your ovulation, which is like your peak estrogen. It's where estrogen shoots through the roof. It's usually why we're feeling amazing. And if you start to actually track your cycle, which I think is step one, because keep in mind, everybody's phases are different lengths. And, it's not going to be exactly the same for everybody. So it's really important to track your own phases and figure out, which time of the month you're feeling certain ways. You can even do this by journaling about how you're feeling, because you'll know when you've hit ovulation because you'll be feeling amazing. It's literally the time of the month where we're on the ball. We start to feel like, we have a higher libido. We start to be more productive at work. This is like a great time for you to start taking on projects. Your energy and your strength is really high, so you can start doing more high energy exercises as well. And obviously during this time, we want to start like avoiding some saltier foods because we're leading up to, that point where we're going to be releasing an egg, right? And so we really want to, avoid healthy foods. Vitamin B rich foods are a great one during this phase. And then you hit your luteal. So luteal is kind of the first phase before your menstruation. So this is where your progesterone is on the rise. Our temperature starts to rise a little bit. I'm not sure if you guys have ever heard of the basal body temperature, but this is something that you can keep track of. and kind of find out when you're ovulating, because your ovulation, like your basal body temperature, goes up a few points of a degree during your ovulation. It's a way that you can tell. Another thing, this might be a little bit strange, but checking your cervical mucus as well. Your cervical mucus changes during your ovulation, so you'll be able to tell that as well. Once you kind of figure out those biomarkers, not only is it great for keeping you healthy and making sure that you're following, the nutrition and the exercise and the flows of each phase, but it also helps you to not get pregnant if you don't want to, right? Without necessarily using all of these crazy whatevers, right? I know Carol Ann mentioned that her doctor was like, just go on the pill. I'm going to put you back on the pill, which is such a common doctor response, because that's kind of the solution, because the pill kind of stops your cycle from happening. And I know people are like, no, I still got my period every month. It's actually not. It actually is a false period that is created by the pill. And it actually stops all of your hormone systems completely. So as much as the pill, I understand sometimes it can be a necessary evil, is actually does a lot more damage to your system and actually stops your body from its natural processes, which can in turn create major issues later on in life as well. And then moving on into your final phase, of course, your menstruation, which we talked about, when your estrogen, your progesterone are at their lowest, right? And so once you start to track those things, you'll start to notice every single month that you're getting the same symptoms around the same time, you're feeling the same around the same time. If you literally look at the same day a month before, if you've been journaling about it, chances are you're going to have written the exact same thing the month prior for that date, right? Maybe your anxiety is high, maybe, one of the times you have a lot of energy or something like that. You're going to start to notice patterns. And that's where you can start to track it and figure out, okay, what do I need when my estrogen and progesterone are low? What do I need when my estrogen and testosterone are on the rise, right? And how can I match up my life to this? How can I figure this out, right? And that's kind of, the first step. There's a couple of things I recommend, and I'll just mention them off the cuff here. I learned a lot of this information. There's a book that's really amazing. It's called In the Flow. And that's a really fantastic book for just like diving into cycle syncing and learning a little bit more about the different phases and the hormones and all of that. But also I recommend, I know Nomsa was saying, get a nutritionist, get somebody that can help you with this. And totally, I completely agree. I find some nutritionists, however, if they're not specializing in women's health, can still give you that very blanket statements like we learned when we were growing up, like just make sure you're getting enough vitamin C or make sure you're getting this or whatever. There's a girl, her name's Nicole Bendan. She's a cycle syncing nutritionist. And so she actually has courses and she provides like meal plans and things for people who are looking to cycle sync, people who are looking to match up with their phases. And so I definitely don't work with her. I'm not sponsored by this in any way. I just believe what she does is really powerful and amazing. And it's really, really helpful, because for me, the thought of like trying to track everything and also trying to come up with meals that fit it is very stressful and a lot to do, especially when you're having to do different things every week. So having meal plans and things that are really easy and that you can just kind of implement makes things definitely a lot easier. So finding a nutritionist, I definitely recommend. As far as menopause goes, Carol Ann, I know there's definitely still cycles going on. There's another one that I heard about recently. I don't have a lot of information on it, but maybe it's something to look into. It's called seed cycling. Because during our menopause, our hormones go way down, right? Everything goes way down. So we don't have this kind of spiking that happens during menstruation because we're no longer producing eggs, right? We're no longer, having that ability to have a baby at that point. So our hormones go way down, but with that shift, often comes a lot of symptoms for a lot of women, which is why, maintaining your fruits and veggies, getting enough calcium, making sure you still have enough iron is really important. Eating enough fiber, obviously, your kind of basic dietary guidelines, but also looking into something like seed cycling might be a good idea. It's just like the alternating of different seeds to match up with, the phases that you're going through. And then I think just the last thing I was going to mention is, I lost it. What was it? I just completely lost it.
And if you were to find it, what would you find?
Oh, I don't know. It's lost. I just feel like, I just feel like it's so important. I feel like I could talk about it all day, and women just don't have, we just don't receive enough information about it. And that's the really frustrating part, for sure.
And I think actually, maybe it's time that we started waking women up, girls, young women, and say, look, find out, not be expected to be told, have a curious interest in what is going on about your body. Because I think there's too much of, I haven't been told. Well, how about waking up to finding out? How about waking up to the fact that there is something that's going on? There is a link between women's cycle and the different ages of women as well, and nutrition, the hormones, and really sort of wanting to know, because I love what Michelle Obama said. Communities and countries, and ultimately the world, are only as strong as the health of their women. And I think that's an important point to really get home, not just to women, but to young girls, and realize that the power that they have is within them. If they want to see change in the world, if they want to see things shifting, it's about women being healthy. And so reclaim that power. Find out about your own body. If nobody's telling you, go and ask. Find out, because there is a lot of information coming out now. And there's probably a lot of information that's been out for years that's been hidden and not talked about and suppressed, that could, let's uncover it. So what you were saying about cycle syncing, seed cycling, there's these phrases. What are they? So I would suggest go and find out and listen to your body. If your body isn't comfortable, if you're finding that there's stress in your body, there's tension, there's aches, there's pains, there's headaches at certain times, it's your body giving you a message. Listen to your body. Learn how to communicate with your body and listen to it and say, look, what's going on here? Who do I need to see? What food do I actually really need here? And also get to know what are comfort foods, because it's emotional eating, as opposed to my body really needs this because it's the nutrition that I'm after. And also being aware of actually how our food today, I don't know that it's as nutritionally healthy as it used to be many years ago. So really exploring that. And how can you get that nutrition into your body, or the vitamins or nutrients that you need, in an accessible way? Because sometimes we take supplements and our body can't access what you're taking. So again, there's all of that to understand. And I didn't realize that until I was with a company that was getting an aloe vera drinking gel from, and other vitamins and nutrients, and did some training with them, that I realized that actually there's certain ways of taking, like vitamin C, that your body can actually access it, rather than you taking it and it just It just goes straight through. So again, there is a lot to learn here, that you need to take charge. And that's a shift that really needs to happen, is about really to understand what's going on. I love, there's this thing, Karen Salmon's song. She said, eating healthy food fills your body with energy and nutrients. Imagine your cells smiling back at you and saying, thank you. I love that. It's like you're working with your body then, you know? So it's about talking to your body, listening to your body, not going out and saying, tell me what's wrong, and asking other people. Listen to your body. Find out what the cycle is that's happening for you, and to get curious about, as a woman, what phase of your cycle are you in? What phase of your life are you in? And note it down, write it down, find out, research, because there is a lot that's now coming out. So I really thank you for bringing this topic out today, Robin, because there's a whole can of worms here that needs to open up. So it's brilliant. Anything else you want to add in, or Nomsa, you want to say?
And is there any resources, Carol Ann and Robin, that you can recommend, like if people are looking for information? I know, Robin, you mentioned book. Would you like to mention the book again, or if there's any resources that you guys came across, and you just give it to the audience, please?
Yeah. So again, In the Flow by Elisa Vitti is a fantastic, good starting point. She does have a lot of nutritional information in there, but she talks about cycle syncing. And then, like I said, Nicole Bendian, you can find her on Instagram. I think she's called the Cycle Syncing Nutritionist. On Instagram, she has a lot of really fantastic information on there, as well as the link to her website, which includes lots of courses and stuff. I was also going to mention just what Carol Ann just was talking about. Absolutely, you're right with like that, a lot of this information has just kind of been like lost or misplaced. But truly, like, our indigenous peoples knew about it. Nomsa, you're from Africa. There's a huge, like, women used to be the queens. Like, they were, kind of running the show in Africa before, patriarchy and people came in and decided to make it all about the men. But like, women were in charge. Same with here in Canada with our indigenous people. Women were considered, like, revered as powerful beings because of the cycles that we go through. Because during our menstruation phase, especially, and here in Canada, they would send their indigenous women away during their menstruation so that they could hone in their intuitive powers. Because during our menstruation, we are highly intuitive. And it's something that we've lost over the years. I don't want to blame the patriarchy completely, but it definitely has a huge part in it, is, the fact that everything's really, really set up for men, and women are often, disregarded in a lot of medical studies, but they knew about it then. They knew about this ancient wisdom that women hold, the fact that we're so much deeply connected to everything. Just remembering that you're super powerful is kind of, I guess, the important thing that I want to leave here, right? And empowering yourself, like Carol Ann said, doing the research so that when you do go to your doctor, you can ask the right questions, that you can advocate for your own health, because they're not going to advocate for you. Right? So going in and asking the right questions, making sure you've done your due diligence, because I'll give you a perfect example. I was dealing with all of these major issues. I was like, I feel like it's hormonal. I went to my doctor. I was like, is there any kind of test we can do? Is there something we can do? I had just learned about that you could do hormone testing. And he was like, yeah, okay, like, I can send you for some hormone tests. At the time, I didn't know enough about it. So I was like, okay, perfect. But for the hormone test, comes back, he says, everything's fine. a few weeks later, I learned about that hormone testing can't just be done one time for women because our hormones are constantly fluctuating. And so literally you have to do it on the 7th day of the month, on the 21st day of the month, on these different days within your phase in order to actually get an accurate reading. And the doctor, after I brought this to him, was like, hey, I'm fairly certain I have to check this more than once. He's like, oh yeah, like the 7th day. He knew, but he didn't actually say anything because, again, they're not advocating for us. They're wanting us to shut up. They're giving, okay, I guess I'll send you for something. And they're telling us it's fine, right? And a really frustrating part too is like a lot of doctors will be like, you're fine. But what they're actually saying is that there's nothing structurally wrong with your body. That doesn't mean that it's not functionally wrong. It means that nothing's going to, you don't have a hole in your heart. You don't have, an obvious, something's broken in your body, but they can't actually see your body functioning. So when they're saying everything's fine, that doesn't mean that what's going on for you is in your head as well. I think that's really important to let people know. It's not in your head. It means that you're not functioning. There's something wrong with the functioning system, right? And that's not something that you see on a test, which is why it's important to track and why it's important to empower yourself by researching. So any kind of research that you can do, like Nomsa said, there's so many resources out there, right? The book, the nutritionist, looking online, empowering yourself and asking the right questions, making sure that you are advocating for your own health. And that's honestly the best advice I feel like I could give at this point. Sorry, I get really passionate.
No, there's something else I was going to add in and it's completely gone. It'll come. Anything you want to add, Nomsa? Well, I think there's something I was going to say.
For me, basically, I'll say, like I said before, find a professional nutritionist and focus on your body, what is working for your body. Because if you have someone professional, if you can't afford it, you can request it from your GP, because if your GP can refer you when you're ill, I'm sure they can refer you before you get ill. You can request that. You never know until you ask. There are facilities here in the UK. I'm not sure any other countries, but I know in the UK there are facilities where you can actually go to your GP and request your to have a nutritionist and just have a plan, create a plan. I'm sure they'll see you for a few weeks and then you're on your own. So follow that plan that works for you. Or online, mostly, if you go online, you try to follow NHS or somebody that you trust. There's so many messages out there, but make sure you're using you're following the right ones, and just listen to your body and see how it goes. And look after yourself. You are the number one. Women, there is so much women our bodies have to go through, and if we don't look after ourselves, then that means basically you'll feel tired, you feel the stress, you feel so many things. Like Carol Ann mentioned, the headache as well. Some people mentioned they experience the dizziness or depression and all those things. We can avoid it by just following an easy plan that does not cost a lot. So it doesn't have to cost. It can be less costly if you can't afford it, just by go to the NHS, get somebody to help you. And if you can't afford vitamin D or vitamin C, go to your GP and get those vitamin C or vitamin D, or you can get them from the shops. There are shops like mostly in London, Kiro, and I'm sure London you've got cheap shops or booths. They're not expensive, are they? You can get them cheap. Just
I think you can get them.
try to cut down on the looks.
Yeah, I think that this is where actually is that our health is our wealth.
Yeah.
And we're so trained to get something for nothing, and
Yeah.
you know, and getting our health looked at for free, that if it costs, we're not willing to pay the price.
Cut
But
down on
actually you end
her.
up paying the price with ill health, you know, so sometimes you have to
Iceland has
pay.
a question, guys. I have another question if you let me. What do you think about sleep disturbance? Anyone wants to ask that question, sleep disturbance?
Yeah, I feel like, again, it depends on the reasoning for your sleep disturbance. There can be a lot of different reasons for that. Obviously, sleep disturbance can be a part of the hormonal cycle as well, depending on if you're matched up, right? Like if you're actually following your cycle and keeping in tune with that, then you might have certain times of the month where you're having sleep disturbances. I think the biggest thing is really creating a system for yourself, and just pushing for sleep, right? Creating a system of like, you know, an hour before bed, I'm shutting off all my electronics, you know, reducing that blue light exposure because that keeps us awake and creates lots of issues as well. Turning off all my devices, maybe I'm, you know, have a evening routine. Maybe I take a bath before bed, or I use like an eye massager. So that's like 15 minutes before I go to sleep. I put on like my eye massager and I just relax or meditate or whatever that needs to be. And the more often I feel like that you, one, track your cycle, make sure that you're following all of the things for that to avoid, you know, sleep disturbance, but also just making sure that your routine is really set up, to aid you with that. And if you are having sleep disturbances, just continue to push for sleep. When you wake up in the night, just try your best to go back to sleep. Don't get up and go on your phone or do this or do that, because the second that you're up, you're really, you know, you're perpetuating that constant routine of you know, keeping yourself awake, right? Or waking yourself up in the night, because your body's actually like fully coming awake. And if you go on your phone, especially, something that I have a habit of doing, unfortunately, it's the blue light also creates an issue for sleep disturbances as well. I don't know if you want to add anything.
Um, I'd really look at what is causing the sleep disturbance. Is it something that's an ongoing issue, or is it something that happens now and again? And look at what is the disturbance. Is there something going on in your body? Are you hungry? Have you had too much of the wrong food that's your body's then having to process and you can't sleep? Is there things going on in your head, you know, that you're thinking about, you're worrying about? What is the disturbance? And then work with that to address that. And maybe that, you know, have some water. For me, sometimes I find that I have to get up because I cannot force myself to sleep. And I just fidget. Sometimes I'm fidgeting and I've not actually been aware that actually I need to go up and go to the toilet. And once I've been to the toilet, I get back to bed and all of a sudden it's like, oh, you know, so what's happening with your body? But yeah, sometimes I get up and I just have to sit up and I might read or something, but I just have to be awake in that moment. So really listen to what's happening with your body, and then I'll certainly drink water because very often I'm feeling dehydrated. So again, it's getting in touch with your body, what's happening, and then go back to sleep. But maybe keep a note of when the sleep disturbances are happening, what you've been doing, and you know, have you been on your phone a lot before going to bed? Have you been watching the TV before going to bed, or have you managed to stop that? If you cut that out, what else is happening? And just keep a note, and again, be present to what your cycle is happening as well. So it is about you becoming aware yourself, because it's what is the disturbance? What's causing you to be disturbed? So that's what I would say. I remembered the other thing I was thinking about when you were talking, Robin, about the doctor and not really listening or being able to help you with nutrition side or having more than one test, about your hormones. It's like what I realized, and actually I was told by a GP, because I was sort of talking about what I'm trained in and what I was looking for with my body. And he said, what you have to realize is that GPs are trained to look for ill health and disease. What you're doing in what you're now trained in is you are looking for health. Mm-hmm. It's a completely different mindset. And so shift to complementary treatments, therapies, because they actually look for health and wellness. They're not looking for disease and ill health. So just be aware that the mindset and the training is completely different.
Yeah. Big time.
Yeah. Cool. Great topic. So, Nomsa, we can't hear you.
And so meditate as well. We live in a very, very stressful world because basically we're always on the go. If you have a demanding job and you have a family that you get home and you have to give attention to, sometimes you need that me time where you need to relax and get it all out. And so you need to meditate, learn to meditate. I meditate every single day as well, like Robin does. And it does help. When I go to sleep, it takes me 5 minutes. If I have to get disturbance at night, it has to be something that is not is unusual, basically. But I sleep very, very well, and also like what you eat as well, and avoiding stress that is not necessary. Sometimes there are things that we hold on to in our heart. We worry, like right now, everyone is worried about the bills, worried about the finances. How am I going to afford all this? But guess what? You can't worry about something that you don't have control over. So you worry. Basically, even when you're told that your health is not in good, you don't have to worry. You focus on healing. So you can't worry. As long as you've got food, if you have money to go and buy food, for me, basically, I'll say those who are struggling, because the finances, people worry. Am I going to basically afford to pay these bills? Downsize. I was living in a huge house that I didn't need. So I had to downsize because I didn't want no stress. I could see that my spouse was getting really stressed, and I was like, this is not what we need. So quickly I had to take action, downsize. I'm happy. And now I look at it, it's easy to clean. It's not big. But before, if I was cleaning the house myself, it would take me 3 hours or 4 hours. That is not necessary. So, and the stress that is not necessary. Just look at your lifestyle, look at your environment. Sometimes it might be people that you're around that are not bringing the energy. Robin always talk about the energy, how important it is, the people that you're surrounded with. Make sure that you're surrounded by good people that are building you, helping you, like not bringing stress to you. And look at all those environment and eat well, vitamins, take vitamins. I don't have time to worry about anything. I just hand it over to God. I say, God, you say anything, you ask him in my name. Here, this is what is going on. Take control over it. Me, I'll just continue taking action of the things that I need to do. But there are some things that as a human being, we don't have control over. We can look at our finances and do what we can. But if bills are going up, like right now, people are worried about the bills going up. And someone was telling me, even with the hair, like a blow drying hair is going to be very expensive. I was like, let it be expensive. Let's not use the head blow dry. If it's gonna cost too much, I can survive without blow dry. So there are so many things that we need to look at and just put ourselves first. We are important. Don't worry about everybody else. That what people going to think, they're going to start to think your lifestyle is changed. And mostly parents worry about children. You've done your best. If you have kids and you worry about them, don't worry about children. You've got to look after them. They're not yours. It's for them to look after them. So just try to put you first. Do your best as a parent and do your best to make sure. And I was talking earlier, Carol Annie, you were talking about the product like the vitamin D. If you can't afford the vitamin D, cut down on hair, cut down on makeup. Makeup is very, very expensive. I was talking to my daughter the other day. She buys things, clothes, and they go to the bin. So I was like, what's the point of buying clothes? And then apparently after a year, they are out of style. I'm like, what's the point of buying all those things? So cut down on buying. Make sure you buy vitamin D, a woman or as a woman, or vitamin C. Cut down on the products that we don't need. If you go to my cupboard today, I've got products that I've bought, but I don't really use them. So just have a look at the things, like how you spend your money. You will find that you have actually enough money to buy your vitamins for the year. So that's my ways of inspiration. Like cut down on hair, cut down on makeup, cut down on you can grow your nails natural. There are YouTube channels actually. I don't go to hair salon anymore. I grow my hair natural. If I go to hair salons, my hair breaks and breaks and breaks. Now I go to YouTube. How do I look after my hair natural? It just rice. I just need rice, tea bags, and some oil. It cost me maybe £20. Then I look after my hair. So cut down on some things.
I'd just like to leave people with a quote. It's Ayurvedic proverb. When diet is wrong, medicine is of no use. When diet is correct, medicine is of no need. Is there anything you'd like to leave them with, Robin?
Anything,
Yeah, I
Robin?
think that's a beautiful thing to leave on. Yes. Yeah, I wanna echo what you just said, Carol Ann, because I feel like that is 1000% true. You know, we often look to Western medicine and, you know, antibiotics and all of those things to solve our problems. But really what they're doing is essentially trying to replicate the systems that are already within us. And our bodies are already capable of healing, and it's through proper nutrition and taking care of your body for the long haul that is the difference, that makes the difference. And you know, if you have to take antibiotics for whatever reason, you have to take medicine. Obviously, I'm not saying don't take it. I think it is important to take it, but just recognize that what that medicine is doing is not fixing you. That medicine is teaching your body to remember how to fix itself. Yeah. So I think that's what I want to leave on.
So much, Carol Ann and Robin, and thank you so much for everyone that is watching Nkosi Talk Show's family. And please subscribe to our YouTube channel. We are here Monday to Friday, UK 1 p.m. UK time. And please also, if you have a topic like you are passionate about, remember you can email us or you can send us on our social media, and we'll talk about that topic. And live with grace, everyone. Have a beautiful weekend, and God bless. Bye, Aslan. We'll see you soon. If you want us to talk about anything, please let us know. On LinkedIn, you can send me a message on LinkedIn or Nkosi Talk Shows, either way. Have a beautiful